Good evening. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And tonight, PWTR is offering the C-Virus Whine, W-H-I-N-E, and Cheese show, in which individuals are invited to come on in to the studio and are given 5 minutes to express their opinion, make a comment, whine, complain, let off some steam, get off their frustrations, stop becoming so stressful, and tell America how they feel about what is going on with the current worldwide pandemic. If you don't wish to be seen, not a problem. You can just call in. So I have my cell phone with me. Please text me at 484-364-1032, your email, and I will send out an invitation. Click on the invitation and here you be. This is for anybody who is just so frustrated with what's going on. So if you're a nurse or a doctor and you're taking a little time for yourself, or you just finished a 12, 15-hour shift, or you're working within the healthcare, fire, police, whoever you are, and you have a little time, please join me, your host, Lillian Caldwell, CEO, President of Passionate World Talk Radio. And now is the time for you to really let go of what's been bothering you ever since the pandemic has spread to America. And one has closed all the schools. I know in the state of Pennsylvania and Ohio, they have closed the schools indefinitely. And if you have kids who are 7 or 8 years apart, like my son and his wife has, 2 daughters at 13, soon to be 14, and then a little 6-year-old soon to be 7, that can be quite a stretch of an imagination. So if you're looking to find help for yourself or for your kids, if you have some in high school who are graduating and going into college, or you happen to run a nonprofit, I invite you to go over to our website, https:// passionateworld.talk radio.com /help-wanted-section. Well, we did have our station manager here, Jeannie White, and I was going to ask her to say a few words, but she seems to have had some technical difficulty. So we will wait. Again, for anybody who would like to come on, either via video or audio, and let us know how they feel about the C-Virus and what's going on, the number to text in their email is 484-364-1032. And while we're waiting, I can tell you that I, Lillian Caldwell, live in a senior independent community. And I am in my 3rd week of being locked down and locked in, and will be locked in and locked down until the end of April. And now I would like to introduce to you our station manager, Jeannie White. Good evening, Jeannie. How are you doing?
Oh, hi, Lily. I'm sorry, I had a problem getting on, but I'm here. I know I put the address on the blog for everyone to join.
Well, they may be just shy. This is something new for a lot of people, and actually being given 5 minutes worth of free time to unburden your soul to the world may be more than a lot of people can put up with. But now would be a great time for you to talk about what the nurses are going through, since a lot of your friends are nurses and they are reporting to you what has not been provided to them while taking care of these people that have the C-Virus.
Yeah, a lot of them they're not provided with these masks that they need desperately, but apparently our governor and Robert Kraft went over to China and got 1 million or so masks. and they're being unloaded now and be distributed to the different, well, a main place, and then from there it'll go to the different hospitals. But some of those masks are going to go to New York and I believe Rhode Island. I believe those two. But there seems to be, it's the mask that these nurses are having a tough time trying to find, and they feel like they're in a war, really.
Well, it's difficult. I've seen pictures of a lot of doctors, not doctors, a lot of nurses, a lot of medical technician and other personnel, and all they have on, folks, is a face mask. They don't have the hazard equipment that all the doctors and surgeons are sporting with the mask and the suits and everything. And yet it is the nurses and the medical folk who are in those rooms for longer hours and have to take care of who are least protected. And a lot of these people are going home exhausted.
Right.
And the news.
Well, you're seeing on the news that these nurses do feel like they're, they don't care about the nurses. They care more about the doctor. And
well, they should care about the nurses because they're the ones who are really.
They're the ones that are doing, basically, I'm not saying the doctors aren't doing anything. That's not what I'm saying. But it seems like they're considered like a second-class citizen, the nurse. Typically,
yes,
and they're the ones that are there without protective, even the covering they have on them. They don't even have enough covering to keep them going, these nurses. So if they start falling, what do you do if you start losing the nurses? Who's going to take over?
That's a problem. I find that it's very disquieting for our government to say that all the doctors and nurses and all the states people should have planned in advance for this pandemic. Well, Mr. President, I have something to tell you. I do not have the insurance coverage that you, all of Congress and the senators have. I do not have the best hospitals, including Johns Hopkins and the Naval Hospital, to take care of me should I get sick. But if you were to get sick and go into where the rest of us go, you will know that hospitals are now a business. And when they become a business, the bottom line is money. And surely, Mr. President, you know all about money because your father made it off the backs of all the peons and the poor people who lived in the slums of New York City. So before you open that mouth and start criticizing our governors, who incidentally are doing a damn better job than you can do even in your sleep, and they're not patting themselves on the back or allowing people to break the rules so they can build up your ego. If you would deflate yourself and come back down to earth, you will see that there really are supplies that are not available to them. And I think it's shameful that they have to go to the black market and pay $20 million or $40 million for ventilators that normally only cost $20,000.
I agree, Lillian, but it's just not the president. It's your congressman, too. You can't blame one without the other.
It's a mess out there. I wouldn't mind introducing the C-Virus to every single one of them and watch them go bye-bye. And that, of course, would fulfill the president's request that all the grandparents sacrifice themselves, because most of those folks are over the age of 80 anyway. So maybe it's time to sweep house. Sheila Wilson tells me that they're having problem on Facebook, although we have an from Marie Amelia, who's also trying to look on Facebook. She just sees the circle keeps circling. If you go over to the website, PWTR-live-player, you can catch us on YouTube. So now we officially have two people who are listening to us, Marie Amelia, who agrees with us on 100%.
Yes.
I really hope that more people join us, because I think it's...
Lillian, I'm going to stop for a minute and go into the blog and put that HTTP in there and tell everyone to use that. All right?
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, this is a catharsis, kids, and we should use our freedom of speech and to let people know that we can't take this anymore. Now, I don't mind being on locked up. I happen to be an author and I need to finish a book. My agent is sort of screaming down my shoulder at the moment for me to finish it. She has other projects for me to start doing. But at the same time, you cannot, in all honesty, disagree with what's going on. Now, I understand that it's difficult, but here over at Phoebe Burke's in Pennsylvania, we are on lockdown because the fear that if one person gets it, it will sweep through the entire facility and kill off a couple of thousand people at one blow. So it's very important for people to realize and understand that this is the real thing. And yes, folks, it can happen to you. It's not just going out to the older people either now. It's going between the ages of 18, and 59, something that everybody wants to know about. And in fact, it took some of the smallest of our newest citizens who have been just born and they don't have the immunity system to really fight off the infection, so they died. I understand the pain. I lost my husband last September with pneumonia and a blood infection. He had Alzheimer's, so he was in no position to tell me what the problem was or how he felt. But I can tell you this much, he went into the hospital of 155, he came out at 122, and there was nothing left of him. So when he had his last attack of pneumonia and a blood infection, I decided to let him go. And I'm glad I did, because I know from the bottom of my heart he would not have survived this current C-Virus. So I think that it's important in our country, since we do have the rights to vote, that you have to make up your mind that it's important for you to understand that everybody must do their part. And it's not a question of conforming. It's not a question of trying to look like everybody else or keeping up with the Joneses. It really is a matter of recognizing that you want to take care of yourself and your family, and you have to do the best that you can possibly do. And while you're not happy about it, take a look at that gentleman who in his backyard was a small space, and yet he ran a marathon of 26.2 miles. So I'm going to say to you folks that go find a fence and maybe climb, or maybe go out and try and fly a kite in your backyard. I know I used to do it because I was too little to go out into the front yard because we lived on a major street. Another thing you could probably do is go out with your kids and either play soccer or play catch. Or when I was growing up, to put a penny in the street or in the driveway, and we would try to hit it with the ball. And the first person who hit the penny with the ball, of course, kept the penny. And then as kids do things, as we all know, then a dime came along, and we put the dime on the pavement, and we tried to hit the dime on the pavement with the ball. And the first person who hit the dime, and so it goes. We stayed with coins mostly. Another thing that I used to do is we had this type of roof that if you threw a ball up on it, it would come down and you would catch it. And sometimes you would throw it around the chimney and you would catch it that way as well. Our station manager's back, and I'm sure she has a few things, so I'm going to shut up for her to say some things.
No, look at Lillian. If people go on the blog, they can just hit the code I gave, and they can come in. But what is the player page? I can't find. All of a sudden,
it's a PWR live video player. So you should be able to find it because I've been in there at least twice. So, of course, I go in through the back way for the administration part, so I can look at the individual pages that get me in there quicker.
How
But,
are these people talking to you? Are they talking to you through the comments?
yes, and Sheila still can't get on. So she's having trouble. She'll need to, Sheila, if you can hear us, you need to go over to PWTR's blog. Jeannie has posted the URL there, and you can click on that, and which is will get you into and follow directions, and that will bring you in. Marie, I hope you can come on because we would really like to see who you are, number one, or hear who you are and make your acquaintance. But I'm pretty sure you have a few things you want to impart also. Grandparents, there are lots of things that you can do with your kids over the phone, over your tablet. You can do FaceTime. I'm getting more FaceTime with my grandson than I've had for the past 4 years that I lived here. Think about it. But moving on, I think that this is a great opportunity for you to reacquaint yourself with your grandkids or even your son and daughter who, even though they say they're all adults and they don't need you anymore, deep down inside they're scared shitless. And they have never been through something of this magnitude before. Outside of 9/11, if your kid, my kid was born in the 70s, so he was around for 9/11. So while it was, so he had something to know of what was going on. But for the kids who were born after 9/11, they don't have a clue. They've never faced a country's emergency. It only happens, in Europe or over there in Arabia or in China, because that's the way it goes for a long time. But the virus made it across the sea, and now we have to cope with it. Jeannie, you have something to add?
No, I'm just trying to figure out how I can solve this problem about getting people on here. I mean, I have the information on the blog. All I have to do is just hit it, and come on. I don't know what else to say.
Well,
I just think this is a great opportunity for everyone to come on. But I can see Marie. She says she can still see you, and she said she talks to her grandchildren too on FaceTime.
that's terrific. So I'm pretty sure, do your grandkids talk to you about what's going on, or maybe the fact that they've been released from school so early that they're going to have a grand old time? If you have any grandkids, why don't you share a story with what's going on with them and stuff so that other grandparents can understand that it's a two-way street. I find that my relationship with my son, for whatever the reason, is getting a lot better. I don't think he's ready to lose me. He lost his father. He wasn't prepared for that. And whether it's guilt or something else, he's getting a lot friendlier with me lately. So I love it. I think it's really good that kids understand that their parents are not going to be around forever, or they may not be verbal forever, and that you have to really start dealing with that. Jeannie, Sheila says she can't go on. Maybe if you can email her directly.
I'll leave for a few minutes, right? I'll be back.
Okay, great. Not a problem.
Okay.
Okay. So we just lost Jeannie again, but she's going to contact Sheila. And Marie, if you would like to come on, give me a ring at 484-364-1032, your text, and send me your email, and I will send you the invite if you can't get over to the blog. Wow. Marie's oldest granddaughter will graduate this year from Manham. Congratulations. She's doing school online 2 months after 9/11. That's pretty awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I have identical twins at 13 that will be 14 in November, and I have a 6-year-old grandson who will be 7 in June. And I already got him his present of where he can create his own garden. Yes, I'll post a comment too. It is 484-364-1032. and just text me your email, and I will make sure you get the invite so that you can come on in, because I believe that this is a perfect opportunity to let things off your chest. It's a lot better than giving yourself stomach indigestion or making yourself sick or start crying. I mean, you're not alone. Everybody's scared. And even though I've died almost twice, and most of the time I'm in pretty good shape about it, it gets to you after a while because you really don't see anybody. And as one other person told me, you could only watch so much television, and then you just don't want to even look at it anymore, because all you see on TV now is all the breaking news of the coronavirus. And if you're not used to dealing with bad things happening to good people, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you. If you remember in The Lord of the Rings, Frodo, Bilbo's ward, asked Gandalf why it had to happen in his time. Why couldn't it have happened some other time? And Gandalf told them that we can't choose the time when bad things happen. We just have to do the best we can in handling them so that we can move forward with however we're going to handle it. So what are we talking about? We're talking about human behavior. And yes, a lot of people will tell you that they don't like being by themselves, and they would really like to try and do something that will make things easier on them. But what you really need to do is try to do the best you can. Read a book, discuss it with your friends. Read a book and act it out with your friends, or act it out with your family. You always want to learn how to knit. This is a great time, so learn how to knit. I am going to disappear for about 3 seconds to get an invite out to Marie, and then I'll be right back, so just hang in there. So this is, in case people are listening, this is what you need to send me. 484-364-1032. Send me your email, and I will get an invitation out to you with the links that you can click on, follow the instructions so you can come on to the program. And know that everything you're saying is being recorded and will be posted all over the website, all over the social media, so that they understand that what you did this evening was to become part of something that you can actually have people hear what's going on with you. And I think it's really important for you to let people know how you're feeling. Okay. And get it out to the world, because nobody, as I used to tell my son, I don't have a crystal ball. It's been in the shop now for a while. They don't have the parts. And so instead of stewing about it, if you can tell me what the problem is, then we can get it out to you and have you have your expression heard. Because I think it's important for people to let other people know that how you feel, so that you don't keep it all inside and do yourself serious harm. I have an autoimmune disease called systemic lupus, and it is a stress-related disease. And when I used to get really sick because I was taking care of my parents and I was raising my son all at the same time, it became too much for my system. So as a result, I got really sick. Now, yes, a lot of it was also because my grandparents both had arthritis in their knees and in their hands, and so it made it a lot more difficult for me because I inherited both sides of their genes. And because of that, I got systemic lupus. I did what I was supposed to do. I took my medication. I lost the weight. Excuse me, I'm trying to do two things. But the thing of the matter is, it was in remission for 3 years, and now the thing of the matter is that it has come back again. I have the butterfly rash on my face, and it's gone into my kidney. I'm in the beginning stages of kidney failure. It's also gone into my eyes. My eye muscles are gradually getting weaker, which eventually will lead me to blindness. And so it goes. I won't bore you with the detail. But the thing of the matter is that you don't even want to go there. If you can get your stress out so it doesn't bother you and doesn't wreck your system, then that would be the ideal thing for you to do, because it can do horrible things to you. And there are other diseases out there that can also make you sick, especially when it comes to stress. And you just don't want to go there, folks. So on the C-Virus Whine, W-H-I-N-E, cheese program, we have 2 hours, and everybody gets 5 minutes each to come in and say what they want to say, good, bad, or indifferent. If you think President Trump is doing a great job, well, come on in and tell the world. That would be awesome. If you think your governor is doing an excellent job, that's great. Do you have a shout out to thank all the people who are out there that are in the front lines trying to make a difference? Well, go say it. Are you making masks by hand because you had to give away your sewing machine? Great. Let the world know, because this is something that probably will not go away if you know your history at all and you go and look at what happened during the bubonic plague. It came back 3 or 4 times before it finally died out. And whether you like it or not, we're a lot more advanced now than in the 12th or 11th century when the bubonic plague first reared its ugly head. But on the other side of the coin, we all know that there are a lot of rats in all the cities living underground in the sewer system. So we could get some other kind of disease that comes from people who pick it up, and we're in the same position that we were in now. And one of the things you need to realize is that we're in a brave new world, very different from the world we left behind. And that this kind of scene where we have a virus coming in is going to be played out a lot of different times. Most of us know that penicillin, which was developed during the 20th century, is no longer valid in treating a lot of illnesses that it formerly treated, because those viruses have learned how to work with the penicillin that people receive to get rid of these viruses. So they've adapted, and as a result, they no longer can be treated by penicillin and cure you. So you have to remember that there's no known vaccine for the C-Virus, and it's going to take a year to maybe 6 months longer for them to find a vaccine. And listen up, during the 1950s, when they finally found a cure for polio, we started out originally with sugar cubes, where they put the antidote for the vaccine into sugar cubes, and you were given 2 sugar cubes to eat to get the vaccine. And that was the only way at that time that they knew how to make sure most kids got the vaccine and wouldn't get polio. It didn't reach a lot of young children in time, and some of them developed polio. In fact, when kids started getting the polio, they didn't have the advanced medical equipment that they have today, and the kids were put into the iron lung, which was a large tubular metal structure in which your whole body was encased in, and the only thing that you could see was that the head stuck out like a turtle, only you couldn't withdraw your head back into the tube, and you had to lay perfectly still for hours at a time because it helped you breathe. So be thankful that you are now in the 21st century, where medicine has taken a giant leap forward. As my primary doctor keeps telling me, it's been 30 years since you've first been treated for lupus, and things have improved. And I like to believe that is the case, because I want to know that maybe in my lifetime they can find a cure, hopefully, for lupus, because lupus, like Alzheimer's and dementia and Parkinson, affects individuals differently. You get usually most of the same symptoms, but how your body reacts is different from the person down the street. Now, I'm sun allergic. I haven't been outside in the sun between the hours of 8 in the morning to 5 o'clock in the afternoon for the past 30 years. So yeah, you might say I've been in training for the pandemic, although it's pretty difficult at times when I look out and see all these people out in the sun. So what can't I do? Well, I can't go horseback riding, can't do skateboarding, can't play tennis, can't go swimming. I mean, the cans are more than the cans. But I've learned to live with it, and I don't go out now until the evenings. So I almost kind of consider myself a vampire, except I don't suck blood because we're not set up to suck blood. Oh, excuse me, I'm just trying to type, and unfortunately, I cannot rub my stomach and do jumping jacks all the same time. Something is going to give. So if you see me falter every now and then, that can be a problem. However, we have about 2 people listening to us. It was 3, but I guess I bored her with my stories of what I couldn't do. And I just really think that this is a great time for you to get off your chest whatever bothering you. Or teens, if you can get your parents' permission, I invite you also to come on and tell the world what it's like to be taking classes at home, and is the discipline at your home any different than the discipline that you're receiving at school? Does it make it easier for you to learn, or do you find it more difficult? Do you have problems keeping your attention, or the stuff that you're receiving is keeping you glued to the page? My granddaughters tell me that their teachers send them out weekly assignments, and they have to do the assignments, and then after they finish them, they need to send them back to her. And while they seem to be okay with it. The biggest complaint I've heard so far from them is that they're bored. Now, the 6-year-old loves getting schooled at home. He thinks it's the greatest thing since chopped liver. I'm pretty sure he's never had chopped liver. I guess you can put it up there as the best thing since a German chocolate cake with a lot of chocolate icing and a cherry and maybe some vanilla ice cream on the top. But I really think that for him, it's a real adventure, and he has found that if he goes onto YouTube, he can find videos on telling him how to put things together. For Easter, although he received it earlier, I gave him a planetarium kit from the Smithsonian, and it comes with 5 discs, and the 5 discs contain outer space, all the stars, all the planets, spacecraft, spaceship, astronauts, aliens, night sky, winter, summer, fall, spring. He just loves it. And then, of course, he has some discs dedicated to be in the ocean, so he gets to see all the marine life and sharks and the whales and manta rays and eels and turtles. I mean, he's just having a smorgasbord. But the best present, which he's going to be getting for his birthday, is a garden, which he can plant easily. And they have a viewing window, so he can see the roots coming down from the vegetables and actually see them grow. So not only at the end of the project can he get to eat all these vegetables, but he has the opportunity to see things grow and spur him on to do more growing. Now that all the seed packets are out, he can start planting things for his family. And I just think that's awesome. Now, we have a nurse, Sheila Wilson, who just joined us.
Oh my God.
Good evening, Sheila.
Hey, Lillian, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I am doing awesome now. Jeannie had to come and help me again. She's always rescuing me from something.
Well, everybody should have a knight in shining armor or someone. Well, they say not to wear capes when you're a superhero because they always get caught in the machinery. I know that you're a nurse. Do you have anything you want to get off your chest about the pandemic or the front line that you and your fellow nurses need to be active on?
Well, I have a lot on my chest tonight about the nurses. You know, you've even interviewed me before, Lillian, about Stop Healthcare Violence. The nurses all get assaulted, 70 to 80% of them by the patients. And now they're going into work to try to save all of these patients and really work hard. They have no masks. They have no face shields. They're lucky they have gowns on. It's terrible. They are being told to wear 1 mask for a week. Can you imagine putting that on? Have you ever put a mask on and kept it? Once your 12-hour shift is over, you take the mask off and put it in a paper bag?
Well, it's like kids going and sleeping in their underwear for a week.
Well, yeah, it's kind of gross.
Yes, it is very, very gross. And I know that my daughter-in-law is, she's with Stitch Witch or something. And that since they've been closed down, they're now making masks for all the area hospitals so that they have something to wear over their faces. I do know that a lot of people around here are wearing scarves over their face, or they're wearing kerchiefs and stuff. And I know I have some crochet patterns that can make those suckers up. So if you think that those crochet ones would do the trick, it's really easy for me to make some of those up.
Well, I wish I could answer that, because the cloth ones that nurses have made and have tried to distribute them are being told they're not worth it and to take them off.
Really? Well, this is with cotton yarn, very light yarn, or wool made with yarn. So they're very lightweight. And these are the kind of things that you can just sort of hang up and let them dry or air out so that they can use it. And if you can find out whether that be acceptable, the patterns there, it's just one big triangle, and then you crochet out the straps, and it's finished. It doesn't take real long, and with crochet, you can wash them either in a machine or by hand, folks, with either soap, ivory soap, or with woolite, and you could have them the next day. But you can make them also for, and they're originally made to wear in your hair to keep your hair in place, but I don't see why not. You can't use them for face masks. And like I said, they're very easy to make. So if you can find out whether that would be acceptable, I don't mind making a lot of them and try to get other people to join me into making them. And I can put the instructions out where people can find them. And everybody knows how to crochet and knit. It's been around for thousands of years, and it's something you can do while you're watching your endless programs on TV or while you're minding a kid or something, or in the evening when you have nothing else to do. I really recommend that you try something like that, and because, like I said, they're very easy to make.
Well, thanks. I will. I'll check on that. One of the girls that is that I know her pretty well, and she said now the managers and the supervisors are all working from home.
Yes.
So they're not even on the floors anymore, and they're on the floor.
It's the nurses who are on the floor, and what I'm particularly worried about is that people's violent behavior doesn't leave them in a pandemic. If anything, it gets worse. So what can you suggest to the nurses who are on the front line? And most of the time, doctors are not in those rooms with them. And they're doing whatever they can do. And they usually need octopus arms because they need to do 3 or 4 things all at the same time.
Well, I guess the doctors are very stressed. And there was something on Facebook the other day about the doctors. If they say anything, the hospitals will fire them. And they're not the only ones getting fired. One of the nurses, and I'll go back to your question in a minute. One of the nurses was on Facebook, and she said she had to quit. She just quit that day. And she quit because she does not have a good immune system. She was working a lot. She has a family. I think she's a single mother. And it ended up that they told her she had to go to the virus floor and take care of them. And she just couldn't handle it. These nurses are going to have so much anxiety and PTSD. It's terrible the way that they've been treated. And they can't say anything. And no matter what they say, they get reprimanded for. And I don't know why that is.
I think it's because of the attitude of Americans, men mostly, because men were in the medical field long before nurses were allowed. It wasn't until the Crimean War that they introduced as nurses, and that was in the late 1890s. And I think it's because they consider nurses second-class citizens, that they never went to medical school. So I guess we could say it's like entering the Olympics and getting the bronze instead of the silver or the gold. You're good, but you're not good enough. And I think this is an unsaid feeling of how doctors feel about nurses. When Barry was in the hospital the first time, I had told the primary doctor he was having some problems with one of his kids. And I said, I wrote a book about teenagers. And I said, I'll bring it in. And he says, great. And I brought it in, and the nurses all picked it up and looked at it and were very intrigued. And they told me where to put it. And then about an hour later, the doctor came in. And I said, here's the book I was telling you about. And he looked at me and said, and I quote, I'm surprised the nurses didn't take it, unquote.
Well, wasn't it President Trump thinks that the nurses are stealing the equipment out of the hospitals?
Yes,
That a quote that he had?
that was a quote that he had too, and it really makes you wonder why the commander-in-chief is so prejudiced against women that he has to put them down there. I'm pretty sure the cockroaches have higher standards than we do. And I really feel that this is not going to go away. It's going to come back a couple of more times before it fades, and then something else is going to be coming in, because between climate change and the fact that parts of the states are no longer having harsh winters, we did not get into anything below 20 degrees here in Pennsylvania, and it only snowed twice with an average snowfall of maybe 3 inches, and that's it. And
Yeah.
that is not regular winter weather.
Right.
And now it's been raining since February, which is the same type of weather you have in Houston, where it gets up to 90 degrees by the end of May. It just rains. So I just believe that instead of trying to run lean, mean machines as hospitals, they need to replenish everything.
Well, that's the other thing. I've asked a lot of people, Lillian. There's always programs for preparedness, always. And, monthly meetings, you have to be prepared, do this, do that. Why weren't we prepared? Why wasn't there, masks? We're not talking about the respirators, which cost like 100 times more than a mask. But why weren't we prepared? This wasn't a big surprise. We always had to be prepared for something, at least when I was working in hospital settings. I don't know. I just am perplexed about the whole thing, because it should have never happened. These nurses, and not just nurses, respiratory therapists, medical assistants, everybody, the EMTs, they're out getting everybody. They're getting spit on. One nurse was assaulted because she had her uniform on. She had already taken a shower before she left, put on another uniform, and went to the supermarket, and she got assaulted. And she was spit on. Not the same one. This was another one, because they're wearing their uniforms to the supermarket to get in and get out fast. It's bad up there.
I think so. I don't think the people really heard that lady nurse over in England who put in a 15-hour shift, and she went to the supermarket and everything was bare, and she could not pick up any food to feed her family. And she did a video about it, and while they had her on the news and everything, doesn't seem to have taken effect now, does it? And yet these are the very people you're entrusting your life and your loved one's life with, and yet you expect them to do this from the goodness of their hearts. And it just doesn't work that way. I mean, doctors drive around in BMWs. Most nurses are still taking the bus to work, or they're walking.
You're right.
Or maybe they're using a skateboard. But the thing is that nurses should be paid equally with the doctors, because most of them are doing all the work for the doctor. So I had a conversation once with my father 40 years ago, and I said, I don't understand this. I understand why you get paid the money you do, but without the secretaries and the other office personnel, you would be up Schitt's Creek. It wouldn't have gotten done because you don't have those knowledgeable people underneath you. And it makes more sense to me to pay these knowledgeable people a lot more money than they're getting, because they put in longer and harder hours than you do. And he got very upset when I said that. And he says, well, I have this and I have that. And I said, and they have this and they have that. And some of them are head of families. I remember when I was working for El Paso, I don't know whether it's still in business. It was coming down in the world when I was working there in Houston, Texas. And there was an opening for supervisor of the mailroom. And I applied for the job. Well, the guy they picked had a wife and child. I had no guy, but I had a child. And I was told that he was supporting his family, and that's why they gave him the job. And I said, excuse me, I'm supporting a child. I'm head of my household. But in Texas, back then, it was okay to discriminate.
Well,
So they haven't changed much. And it's very disconcerting when you can't be treated what you're worth and you can't be paid accordingly to what you're worth. We have Marie on the line. Hi, Marie.
hi,
Hello,
Marie.
how are you? Hi,
I am fine. How are you doing?
hanging in there.
I am glad to see that. I'm sure you have a few things to say. I bet you're tickled pink about your granddaughter.
I am. I have another granddaughter that's 13 and goes to Schuylkill Valley, and I'm close to both of them, but unfortunately can't see them, either one of them right now.
It makes it difficult. So, do you have something on your chest, or you just want to join in the conversation, or
Well, what
what's
I
up?
am, I have lost friends over this Trump thing with the coronavirus. People have their own views, and I thought we had freedom of speech, but apparently not. If I'm not a Trump person, my friends no longer want to, some of my friends don't want to talk to me anymore.
Well, they believe in the hype that the only opinion is his, and if you do not agree with him, then you're either shot or you are exposed to the C-Virus so you can die and sacrifice you live so others may live. And I'm not a fan of Trump. I know that the veterans love him because he's done a lot of great things for them, and that's wonderful. I'm really glad that he did. But at the same time, when I look at all the other things he has not done, it bothers me a lot. But don't get me wrong, I'm not that impressed with the Democrats either at this point. So
That's the
it's
same way I am. Politics, don't need them right now. No, and for him to call somebody a cutie pie and a cupcake, and it's so demeaning, especially to women that are reporters that ask him a question, and he like demeans them every single time.
I think as he has to. I think that Trump is kind of, well, we know he's narcissistic, but I think he's also a psychopath. And that if you don't agree with him, then he has the right to hit you or ridicule you or something of that nature. I was very upset when they had on the news tonight about a captain at sea where over 100 of his sailors were sick. And he finally wrote a letter to his commanding officer saying that he would like to get help for the men who were sick on his ship. So what did they do? They fired him.
Exactly.
And I can't understand that. He must be seething inside. I know that he can't say anything, but I think that's pretty bad.
Did you see where Dr. Fauci is getting death?
He's getting death threats. Yeah,
Yeah, unbelievable.
it really is. It makes it very difficult for the rest of us normal people to try and live our lives with the way that America should be respected and taken care of the way we were taught back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Exactly.
And I just wait to see what's going to happen next because he is not taking responsibility. The buck does not stop with him. He keeps on agitating and acting like a big spoiled brat.
Well, they said his ratings are up. I'd like to know why.
Because, go ahead, Sheila.
No, all I want to, and all I'm going to do is infuriate both of you.
Oh, please do.
The one man in office does not do everything on his own. He has a cabinet. And
He tries.
he cries?
No, he tries to do everything on his own.
Well, that should never happen. And I think, for tons of years, we've been blaming the one person. Like, how many times was Obama blamed for everything? And as you go back down through the line, they all seem to get blamed. But what about those other ones that are sitting in their office or his office, the one that we want them in, and they're all agreeing or disagreeing. I never hear about them. And that's all I want to say, because if I say a whole lot more, I might get you too. And I don't even know Marie. I know you, Lillian.
Well, you can say what you want. This is wine and cheese, and you can't, everybody has the right to their own opinions. And maybe our opinions may be one way, but if you've really merited being under Trump and you really like what he's done and everything, I got a friend who's a staunch Republican down in Washington, D.C., and we get into a lot of friendly fights about him. So there's no problem. You go and say what's on your mind. That's what this program is all about.
Oh, well, what it is, that's all I wanted to say, is that the president has a cabinet behind him. And even though this man is not a politician, he's a businessman without a filter. And that I think is the worst thing that can happen, because he is without a filter. And I don't know who can teach him how to do anything else. But
I agree with you. I think if he learned not to tweet everything that came from into his mind to his lips, I used to tell my son, your lips talk before your brain kicks in. And what you need to learn how to do is control what goes in your brain out through your mouth. Because if you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, it be consequences. So your job as an adult is to learn how to curb what you say. I'm not
Right.
telling you not to tell the truth, but there are different ways that you can tell the truth without discomforting 2/3 of the known world.
Right.
Being disrespectful. And I think that's what it really is that he needs to learn how to curb his remarks and not to keep patting himself on the back all the time. If he's doing a good job, we'll know. The ratings will show it, because I take polls practically every day. I don't need him to pat himself on the back and say, I'm a wonderful person, I'm the son of Christ, I'm God anointed. That doesn't belong in a government that's supposed to be separated from the church. Hey,
Right.
it had no business saying something like that. And for millions of other people who may believe in a different religion or not believe in anything at all, it's a real insult.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. Like I said, the veterans love him, and I was told by my contact in Washington, D.C. that he really makes a good president, because the rest of the world is scared shitless as to what he'll do next. And because of that, they don't want him as president. But she said, as far as I'm concerned, he's the perfect person to have as president, because we won't get into a nuclear war. Well, maybe. I'm not going to hold my breath on that. But
just out of curiosity, Lillian, why are the veterans loving him so much? So many of them.
He's done a lot of things for the veterans. I've had veterans come on recently who I've interviewed, and apparently the wait time is down from 5 days or 2 weeks down to 1 day, and that they are seen by a counselor to help them deal with whatever problems they have. And I think that's very, very important. So for the veterans, he has really made addition, and I give him a thumbs up for that. I think that's terrific. But for women in general, I had a gentleman who I interviewed, and he kept on calling me dear. And I said, sir, the deer are out in the forest eating leaves and grass and giving birth to fawns. I said, I am not one of them. I live in a house. How would you like it if I called you sweetie pie over the air? And he says, okay, I won't call you dear anymore. I don't think it occurs to them to filter their speech, because they've been doing it for over 50 years. But I know that I don't have a doctorate, but I know ladies who do, and in engineering, in atomic physics, and other professions, and they don't take kindly to be called dear either, because they're not your dear. And yet it's a common expression that is found not only in men, but I have a lady who keeps on saying dear or sweetheart or something like that. And I have to curb myself without reaching out and slapping her around a couple of times. The only time I call my son sweetheart is when I want to try and make a point, and then I do it in front of all his adult friends. And then he comes back to me and says, you know, they're jealous of me because none of their parents would talk like that in front of them. And occasionally, baby slips out, and he just beams because he tells me all the other kids his age, and he's 46, their parents don't treat him like that. And he says, I just love it. And because my kids just think that's so cute. And I said, fine, at 69, I'm now cute. But I think it's pretty neat. But you have to learn how to filter what you say, because that's what you teach your kids, is to filter their language.
That's right. But how do you teach a president?
I don't know. As long as you're on, why don't you try and talk about the bill that you're trying to get passed in the Massachusetts legislature?
Well, I'll tell you this. The bill has died. It died a little bit early. And so no, and I can't find out who didn't vote for it. All I was told was when they decide if they want to pass it to another department or committee, then what happens is they all raise a hand. And if it's a majority, then that's it. It's dead. One more time, one more year. So we will not get a felony law in the state of Massachusetts.
I think that's terrible. I guess Jeannie told you my idea where you need to get some people who it looks like they're getting beaten up, and you add makeup gradually so that when that person goes home, you say, would you like that to be your mother, your aunt? Would you like to have that be your engaged person, or your bride, or your sister, or your cousin? Because I really think that they need to have it right in their face.
Right. I think that's the whole thing. I truly don't believe that they understand that so many healthcare workers get assaulted. There was an episode with an EMT. He had picked up a patient. Then his worker, there was two of them in this ambulance. They were both, one was getting into the driver's seat, and the other one was going back to make sure the patient was fine and to sit with them. In the meantime, somebody came and hijacked the ambulance with the patient. Now, these ambulance drivers get hit, kicked, thrown down a set of stairs. They are always running in to help with the overdoses, and then people will stop them. And you go, why are you stopping me? You know, there's a man that's blue upstairs, or a woman, you know, and it's everywhere. But I wanted to mention that a lot of talk is with the nurses, some of the doctors, but I want to go back to the housekeepers and the respiratory therapists. And without a housekeeper, nurses couldn't survive, because they're the ones that clean up after our messes. The secretaries are on the phone. They also they get verbally assaulted all the time. And they're sworn at because they'll have to say no. And I'm sure that they're being really assaulted now when visitors can't go into the floors. They say no visitors. And I understand why, but if you have a relative that is really critically ill, I was just told this today, as a matter of fact, that this person was on there and he was slipping and slipping and slipping. And finally, when they knew that nothing could be done, they let the wife go in. He was there for 4 days, no visitors. She finally got in for 1 hour to say goodbye to her husband. Now that is so sad. That it's things that I don't quite understand, because I can't imagine somebody telling me I couldn't see my husband or my child.
They're having a lot of problems with pregnant ladies too.
Yes.
They were saying, you can come into the hospital, or we're setting up different places for you to come, but you still can't have your husband or anybody come, because at least in Pennsylvania, they were telling them they had to have them at home, their children, and they couldn't find, listen in folks, they couldn't find competent midwives to come in and take care of this. and the women who've been indoctrinated that you have to have your baby in the hospital was very scared to be home alone with a midwife to deliver their child, which I think is just criminal, because midwives have been delivering babies long before doctors ever showed up.
Yeah, years and years and years ago. I was talking to a nurse practitioner this morning, and she said they're all doing virtual physicals. And she says, it's very difficult when you have a patient that you're looking through, just like you and I right now, and they're telling you the symptoms, and they say, well, I have chest pain. Well, where is the chest pain? And they go, oh, it's way, way, way in the back here. And she's trying to diagnose something. This is really getting, it could be a huge liability. All she can do is say, if you're that bad, you have to go to the emergency room. They're not doing anything. They can't do anything. It's not that they don't do anything, but she'll order antibiotics if it's, I don't know. How do you see a throat through a virtual camera?
I don't know. I know that when people around here get sick and they go down into the wellness office and they send them in by ambulance, a lot of times now they don't go just to the emergency room at all. They get redirected to someplace else because there's no room at the hospital for them to get into, which I think is a real travesty. We have several people here with cancer who can't get proper cancer treatments. Or the dialysis. Now, I understand people can't go into the hospital to get their dialysis, that they're trying to put together kits for them to do it at home. And the whole reason why you do it in the hospital is because you have a trained professional checking in with you, making sure everything is okay. Because there's a lot can go wrong even within a 30-minute period. So I find it very alarming that with all the hospitals that they still don't have enough bed space. And what they're saying on the news now is they're going to start opening up the hotels in Manhattan to use for regular patients who need medical care.
Wow.
Can you see that at the Hilton or the Waldorf?
No.
Oh, well.
I can't quite believe that, but there was on Facebook that Trump should let all his hotel rooms go to the patients. So I don't know how many hotel rooms he has. But then...
Do you think we can get off Trump for a while?
Yes.
Please.
I just brought him up one more time. That's all. We haven't been talking about him.
Hospitals and what's going on, because everyone is concentrating on the coronavirus. And unfortunately, people that are ill, that have, look at Holly Brown with her patients that she helps out with cancer treatment for their skin. She has to stop that, So there are a lot of places that cannot perform what they need to do to help other people in their issues, because the coronavirus has just taken over us.
And it's an unknown virus. Nobody really knows what it is. Or they know what it can do, but they don't really know what it is. And until they know what it really is, I would think it'd be difficult to develop a vaccine for it.
Yeah. What do you think, Sheila?
Well, we've been talking about a vaccine, and they said now this is just in thought, that next year or the year after, the flu vaccine will have something with the coronavirus. They'll take some sort of a strain about that. That's what a lot of nurses and nurse practitioners are talking about. Just briefly. Now, I don't know if I don't even know if they know everything. They've got a couple of medicines that are supposedly working, but I don't know if they're working that well, and I don't know what and how often that these people have to take this medicine, and are they going to get any backlash from taking so much medicine? Then there was something said about don't take Motrin, because the Motrin, the virus likes the Motrin and it will thrive better. Now, I don't have anything else on that to say, but it's the drug that I like. And so I don't take it, but it's like there's so much going on that we don't understand it. So if you're a Motrin user, maybe you should stop doing that, because if the virus likes the Motrin, some ingredient in it, and it helps the virus get worse, well, but is there any proof on it? I don't know. It's just scuttlebutt that's out there. But we're hearing a lot about the scuttlebutt.
Well, they're talking about using the blood transfusions from those who have recovered from the C virus, and then using the blood from the recovered patients to give the patients who are still sick with the C virus the blood, and they were hoping that that would help the patients get better.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, in fact, there was one gentleman who said he received a blood transfusion from another patient who had the C virus and recovered, and they used his blood to put into this gentleman, and 5 days later he was back to normal again.
Wow. There's just so many things. It's a complex situation going on for this virus. It really is very complex. All I know is I don't know how these nurses are handling it. I just don't.
They aren't, Jeannie. They're having a terrible time. And every time that they go into work is something else. Now, hopefully they'll be able to get all these masks that the Patriots are passing out. Didn't they just go and get millions of masks?
Yes.
I hope they're N95s. And if they can wear a mask and have a face shield and wear a gown and not have to wear it, for 12 hours a day, be able to change it and give your face a rest, I think the nurses will be a lot happier. But I still think that they're just really upset about the fact that they didn't have the mask to begin with. And they don't know why.
Because
And
they really weren't prepared for it. Didn't you already talk about that, Lillian?
Yes, I just think that they're considered second-class citizens in the medical world, and that the doctors are the primary folks who need the treatment. But I have seen a lot of young girls go into nursing, and I've seen the courses they take, and they might as well just go on and become doctors, because the nursing programs are quite rigorous, as so is the certification for them to become nurses as well.
You know that, Sheila, right?
yes,
Excuse me?
even after 40 years, I mean, it was tough. And you can't pass all the subjects that you're supposed to pass. But, it's a lot of information to try to get into your brain in a short time. And it's getting shorter and shorter to try to pass these people to get their RNs and then go on. Because now the young nurses can't go in, the brand new ones that just have RNs, they need to have bachelor's degrees. The hospitals don't want to hire them. And they won't even let you go there unless it's like a rehab center or something like that. So they want a bachelor's degree, and they want to see their bachelor's degree, and then they might hire you as a nurse on the floor.
They may have to change. They may have to change what they're doing.
Yeah. This one particular nurse went for an interview at a rehab, and she was told she'd get 28 patients. She'd work the 3 to 11 shift, brand new nurse. And when she gets her bachelor's degree, they'll talk to her a little bit more. But as of right now, you end up taking care of the patients, 28 of them. Maybe you might get some help. Can you imagine 28 patients?
It's a lot of people. I remember being a secretary to a group of guys, 30 to 35. And what you learned how to do was prioritize who needed to get the work done out the fastest and let everybody else sort of float along. So I can imagine she had to learn how to prioritize her patients.
Right, but how do you feed them and make sure that everybody gets fed? How do you get them changed? And I mean, this is like crazy what's happening out there for the nurses. But
well, it's even worse for the EMT workers here in Pennsylvania. Now they're told that if the patient, when they pick it up, does not have a pulse, not even to bother bringing them in.
Yes, I heard that, Lillian.
Now, where do they go?
I
They
don't know.
die at home.
Yeah, they send them back to their house.
Yes,
Nothing.
yes. They've given them the right to determine who lives and who dies.
No, yeah, I was like, oh my God. They said, don't even think
heard
about
that.
it. I remember them saying, don't even think about bringing them into the hospital.
Well, do you just call the morgue? You call the,
You call the morgue, and if we become like Italy, the coffins are going to start piling up in the streets. That's what's happening in Italy and in Spain too. They don't have enough room anymore to put them into the mortuaries, or enough people to dig the graves fast enough to put the coffins in, because you can't have any services or memorials. And they just don't have enough, so they're just stacking all the coffins in the streets, just the way they used to stack all the bodies during the Middle Ages in the streets from the bubonic plague.
Hmm.
Makes you really wonder
Wow.
if we really have advanced all that much.
wow. Wow, I didn't hear that.
Oh yeah, there are things going on in Pennsylvania that you just kind of accept it, and you just sort of, there's not too much you can do about it. I'm still waiting for the he who cannot be named to.
Okay.
Lillian, you can mention his name. I'm kidding. What are you talking about, Trump?
Yes, he who should not be named. That way everybody will be happy.
I'm happy. too.
National shutdown, because there's still about 10 states that are not keeping people staying home. In fact, one of the governors of the state is also a minister, and he holds his ministry at church every week.
Yeah.
And he has decided that all of this is a lot of garbage. It's trumped up by the Democrats. I mean, he went on and he went on and he went on, and I didn't see him burn any witches yet, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Holy mackerel. Well,
Yeah, I'm not sure. Huh?
they closed all the beaches.
That's because all those kids tested positively when they got home. And now there's a real panic among the governors, especially in Florida. Texas, the beaches are still open because they don't really believe that anything is going to happen. They said that in Louisiana too, and that state has skyrocketed in deaths. It's really, when they talk about 100 or 200 deaths, you can relate to that, because there's always car accidents, plane accidents, people texting and getting run over. So, you have gotten accustomed to relating to that. But when you start talking about 1,000 people died today, it's hard to really grasp the concept of each one was an individual, each one had a family, a husband or wife. It's a whole new playing field. And some of the spouses who are talking about their husband or their wives or their aunts or uncles, they go into the hospital and they're dead like that. And you're thinking, did they go and talk to their lawyer about their estate plan? I mean, you don't think who thinks about things like that during what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. Good point, Lillian. Good point.
So I just wonder, I mean, when they're predicting 500,000, 240,000 people worldwide to die of this plague, folks, that's a lot of people. You cannot be indifferent to that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And it claims anyone. It's not just old people anymore, so I don't have to sacrifice myself for nothing. I'm relieved to hear that.
That's right. That's right. I'm with you.
Hey, talking about the cabinet and the Senate and the Congress, it would wipe them all out. They're all grandparents, one way, shape, or form. Good idea, he who should not be named. Good idea. Move over, border more.
I am not a staunch Trump, but I do like Trump. Sorry, everyone has their opinion, and I do like him.
That's what this show is all about.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping, I mean, we have 5 people right now. We've gotten a thumbs up and a heart. So obviously, we're in the right direction, ladies.
Yeah, you are in the right direction, but I just think that life as we know it is not going to be the same anymore. So there are a lot of changes going to be coming again now. In this virtual physicals, I'll be honest with you, I'm up for it. You know, I mean, I don't know how I would take my blood pressure, but I'm up for just talking to the doctor and say, yeah, you know, if I thought there was something seriously wrong, I don't know, but that's going to happen. That is definitely going to happen, Sheila. You know, there's going to be more and more virtual physicals going on. Really?
Right.
This is how I take blood pressure, folks.
Oh, so you can take your own. There you go. So
I take my own. And it's worth the $65 that I paid for.
yeah.
Because the first questions, if you're over the age of 60, ladies and gentlemen, and adults of all ages, the first question your doctor is going to ask you is, what's your blood pressure? What's your temperature? What are your symptoms? And if you don't know it, they put the phone down because they don't have time to waste on you if you can't be prepared to answer these questions. I found that out the hard way. What's his temperature? I don't know. He's shaking. That doesn't help. I said, he's shaking. I said, I have one of these new thermometers that you have to put into the sun. I think it's solar power. And he says, well, turn on a lamp. And I said, but the sun is a lot higher than the lamp. Turn on the lamp. 2 minutes later, how's it doing? And I said, well, it says low. He says, put it in his mouth. Oh, you try putting a thermometer into a mouth of an Alzheimer's patient. We'll sit down and discuss it at a later time.
Oh, yeah, that's another discussion, you know, but I just think we really, you know, to sort of concentrate on what's going on with people in this coronavirus, because life as we know it is no longer going to be.
It's going to be turned around, and I just hope the educational opportunities that are out there for our grandchildren are going to prepare them for this brave new world, because it is certainly different from just learning your ABCs. Oh, Betsy works us right on tonight. Yeah, girl. She says, she was so sorry to hear that. And then she says, tell it, Lillian. All right, girl. Sock it to them. Well, that's what this program is all about. To let your inhibitions go and get up here and say, hey, stupid, I can't take it anymore, and this is what I think. Because I got to tell you, that crystal ball that everybody's been using, it went on strike. It shattered. And until they can find the appropriate men and women to put it back together again, like Humpty Dumpty, you're going to have to use other means.
Well, I don't know. You know, I'm just going to talk about my state of Massachusetts. I mean, I can't thank my Governor Baker, for what he's been doing.
I agree with you, Jeannie.
And he's a businessman, you know, and
Yes, he
businessmen like to solve problems. Solve it so we can move on. And what he did with that, bringing the mask in from China with the help of a lot of partners plus Kraft in the plane, I mean, he cut a lot of red tape and had it done within, I don't know how many days of how they worked it, but certainly there's another plane coming in with the rest of the masks coming in next week.
And you should all be happy to hear that Putnam supposedly has filled a plane with boxes of medical supplies that the United States needs, and he who should not be named has thanked him for his help in supplying these aids. Of course, nobody has seen this plane yet, and anybody can stack a plane with boxes, I understand. However, the thought is there, so thank you, Putin.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Russia.
That's Russia. But I also want to thank all the governors, well, except for the ones who think that this is a symptom of a delusional mass hysteria, who are really showing us that they are worth our vote.
They definitely are.
Because they really are doing a good job amid a lot of wolf and hypocrisy going on. And anybody who can call governors complainers has no concept of what it's like to be a governor of a state where there might as well be the old lady in the shoe. She had so many children, she did not know what to do. And that's what's happening with the governors. There are shortages on everything that the hospital staff needs. In fact, in Pennsylvania now, they're now wearing plastic ponchos because they don't have the gowns anymore to wear.
Well, at least that's a better idea than a lot. Somebody they cut a milk gallon jug and put it on their head for a mask.
Well, if it works,
Yeah,
use
it
it.
works. Yeah,
Your number one priority is to protect you from the illness, and then your second priority is to try to be there for those that need you. Because you know that if you were on the front line, you would do the same thing.
you're right. You're absolutely right. But there is so many people have been very creative, and then they get negative feedback for it. Like we were talking before, the cloth masks, and then they're told that they're not good enough and not to wear them. And you wonder why. And who's telling them not to wear them if their managers and supervisors are at home?
Yeah,
Working from home.
it's easy to say something's not working when you're not there in the front line with your rifle and your hat, your helmet, and the enemy is throwing hand grenades and billowing gas in your face, and then being told, oh, you can't wear those gas masks, they're out of date.
Right, they're expired or something.
Expired. I find that very discomforting when people tell me information like that, because you would think that instead of saying you can't do it, that they would say, okay, we have another way of getting around this, and this is what we're going to do, and then go out and do it. And I think that would be a lot better than just saying, no, you can't do that. Because I don't think that for the morale of those people or the morale of the country, that people want to hear this. They're going into a territory of wearing things, especially women, across their faces that we've never done. Now, the Iranians, the Iraqis, people from the Islamic and Muslim faith, the women there are used to wearing things across their face. They've done it for centuries, so it's not a big deal for them. And in China and Japan, they've been wearing face masks all during the 20th century when the pollution levels got so bad. Right. So it's not a big deal. But in our country,
it is a big deal.
It is a big deal. It's like having troops quartered in your house after being gotten rid of during the Revolutionary War, because people are feeling like their liberties, civil, social, political liberties, are being trampled on. So you have to be careful in explaining why it's necessary to wear these masks.
Right, right. But they have to protect you.
They have to protect you. I've seen my 6-year-old has put on his Halloween mask because he figures it will protect him. Who knows? Maybe it will.
Maybe it will.
But if he's wearing it, he thinks it's pretty neat that he can get to wear his superhero mask now and not get in trouble for it, because everybody's wearing masks. So he wants to wear a mask too. Right. And I think if we can put it in that type of light for people, I mean, just say we're having a big masquerade party.
Right, right. I want to say one more thing is that I talked to somebody over at OSHA. You know, it's a federal law. If you feel that you're in an unsafe environment in a working situation, that all you have to do is call OSHA. And when I called the other day, there are many, many reports with OSHA. So, and I asked, well, what are they going to do about it? You know, I mean, you can call them up and nothing gets done. And I'm waiting for an answer for that. And I'm wondering if they go in, or is it something that they are just going to say, well, you know, it's a pandemic, there's nothing much we can do. So I don't know, you have any ideas on, you have a deal with OSHA, Lillian or Jeannie?
Barry used to do it all the time because he was a chemist and he had to clear a lot of things with them for the different types of chemistry that they put together to create products. So I bet he would be able to answer your question. Unfortunately, like Houdini, hasn't been able to make contact with me yet, so I really can't ask him a direct question. However, I would, do they have a website where maybe they explain things further?
Well, they have a great website, and I've met with them, and they're really wonderful, wonderful people. But I think that there's so much going on that I
think they're overwhelmed and understaffed. Is
yes,
probably what the problem is, and probably their experts are involved in doing something with the health workers so that they really aren't free to discuss those things. But
right.
I still think that maybe you should write or do an audio letter or a video letter to whoever there and send it to them. Maybe you have more of an opportunity to get to them that way than calling them up directly on the phone.
Right, right. Well, there are also a lot of them working from home. And
Yeah,
so
I understand that. I understand
Well, it's not-
to direct it at home. Or your last possible option, and people seem to make great use of it, is let us put it on YouTube for you and see how many millions of people agree with what you're saying. And numbers seem to make a big difference to the government departments. And they don't want to be talked about or whispered about or have information misled to the public.
right. No, they were very good when I called, but the girl the woman that I wanted to talk to, she hasn't returned my call yet. But
Well,
she will, I'm sure. If not, I'll call her again.
why not? They say that something, the noisy whatever, gets the attention of somebody.
The squeaky
Squeaky
wheel.
wheel. Thank you. Squeaky
Right.
wheel.
Mhm.
So anybody else want to say anything? We've been on for an hour and a half, ladies and gentlemen, so we still
Oh,
have
my.
29 minutes. We have Sue Ferrandis on,
Oh,
saying
yeah.
hello to Betsy.
Yeah, she's one great person to talk to. She's got a wealth of information.
Why don't you send her an email and invite her to come on?
I could do that. I don't know. Maybe she would. I don't know. Betsy's here, but Betsy, I think, is on the audio. I don't think she's on video.
Well, she can come in on an audio. There is a phone connection to this, to StreamYard. She can come on and just talk by phone so we don't have to, see her.
Tell Sue that, Sue Fernandez, if she wants to come on.
Okay, will you two continue talking? Because I find that talking and writing at the same time is not quite a skill I've developed yet.
You can't do it here. You have the control of everything. So Sheila, anything else you want to talk about? The nurses, I think, really. They're
Well, the patients now, some of the more violent patients are taking the time to spit at the people. They're
Yeah,
spitting
even
at
now.
secure.
Yeah, are they doing it now, Sheila?
Yes,
It's amazing how they're still doing that now to the nurses and how they're treated and these patients. I don't understand the mentality of the individual. I mean, are these the ones that have the coronavirus, or there are other
that's
patients?
what they say they have. They'll come into the hospitals, they'll be wearing a mask, and somebody will come in, either, the doctor, the nurse, security guard, housekeeper, anybody that enters the room, they'll lean over and say something, and then they'll pull their mask down and cough right in their face. And they'll tell them, I have the virus. And somebody, and I don't know what state it was arrested.
Well, Sue
So-
said to send her the phone number.
Oh,
There isn't any phone number.
I mean, can they call? How did that woman call?
Okay, I sent the link in the chat room to Marie and
Okay.
told her just to click on it and she can come in. So,
Did you send it to Sue?
I can,
You're able to.
I've already sent it. It's already on the chat side. There's no phone number. There's an email. It's an email invitation. Okay. I told you, it's very difficult for me to talk and think at the same time. Invocation, just click.
Sorry, Sheila.
While Lillian is doing that, we
Yeah.
had a conversation earlier about your thoughts on people leaving New York to go down to their homes in the Cape.
Oh,
and
yeah, we were talking about that.
Nantucket.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something about that?
Well, I think the people down the Cape are a little frustrated that these individuals that are coming into the Cape from New York probably already carriers of the virus, and if it erupts seriously down the Cape, their capability of handling this in their hospital is just impossible. So they would want these people to come in, and they'd have to have the 14 or 15-day quarantine for those times to make sure that they're all right, to them to go out into the shopping malls and going around. And actually, they wanted to close the bridges down to the Cape, and you can't do that because it's federal, to shut those bridges down. But there are a lot of people that were really upset about it, saying, you're going to come down here and now you're going to contaminate us. And I know we talked about it, and you talking about that they have property down there, and they have they pay taxes down there.
Mm-hmm.
And why shouldn't they be allowed to come in? But I think common sense is to say, people just don't think about how they were going to affect people, and that's how it's happening now. A lot of people are very inconsiderate, and they go out and they do things they shouldn't do. I mean, I know we were talking about it yesterday, you and I, Sheila.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pros and cons on it. Pros are, this is the Cape. We live here year round, and now you're going to come in here. You come in the summertime, and now you're going to bring the virus with you. What's going to happen to us, the islanders? What do you think, Lillian?
Well, I know that in Pennsylvania, they're just barricading the bridges. They're putting up all those orange barrels, excuse me. And the other thing is, what you hear is that the services for the hospitals are not city or suburban hospitals, so that there are just enough beds or just enough doctors to take care of the people who live there year round. They really don't have the additional staff to take care of all these other people that are now coming down. And I want to tell folks, this is a blunt reality. You can go into the middle of the Redwood National Forest. You'll still get sick. The virus is found in all, watch the lips, living, L-I-V-I-N-G, things. The last time I looked, trees, grass, plants, bushes, leaves, they're all alive. It's like people telling me, well, I'm going to build a bomb shelter, and when the big one comes, I have enough food and water for the whole year. Well, congratulations. What happens when you go out? They say a nuclear winter will remain for the next 25, 30 years. What are you going to do?
Lillian, do you have a phone number that Sue can call in?
Yes, you can call in at 484-364-1032. I'll put it in the chat room.
Yeah, put it in the chat room.
Somebody please start talking. Thank you.
Lillian, Sheila, start talking.
Well, okay.
Or cite a poem if you have to. Just
I will go back to the nurses.
I'm a little teapot, short and round. Here's my handle. Here's my spout. All right, go ahead.
Are you going to finish it?
I don't remember the rest of it.
I
Just pour me out.
I just think that the nurses are getting really worse than they ever were. It's just terrible.
Hello?
We've dealt with them.
Hi, Sue. How you doing?
And then we ended up with
Good. I'm on here with you.
I see that. Listen, if you want to come and enter the room, just click on that link that I put up there for the StreamYard.com. and just click on it and it will bring you into the room.
Okay.
And you
hold on.
can
Where-
come either by video or you can do it by phone. It's in the chat room. So the link, everybody listening?
Where it
Yes.
says chat, not
Where it says
not-
chat. Yes.
Okay, I don't want to be on the video. 'Cause
You don't have to. There's a phone that you can use. Everybody listening? There's a phone that you can use so we hear your voice, but we don't see you. So now's the time to
Okay.
have that negligee on, folks. Okay.
Okay, hold on here. Let's see. See, it says create a group.
No, it's for everybody who wants to know how to get in, write this down somewhere, probably in Gmail, Yahoo, so you can click on it. It's
Okay.
//StreamYard.com small letter C, the number 3, small letter J, small x, small I, number 4, number 3, number 8, small letter Z, small letter S. For people who want to call, it's 484-364-1032. Everybody got that?
I think so.
Okay. Oh, Betsy's on.
There she is.
Hey, Betsy, get up here. Get on. Hey.
There you go. Betsy Wurzel's on. Come on, I'm allowed up to 6 people, and I can always disappear. That's not a problem. So, what do you think, Sue?
I can't access it.
You can't?
No, I don't know where that link is. Not the link, but the...
Okay, wait a second. Jeannie, do you have Sue Fernandez email? I see you, Betsy. Okay, talk to Betsy, and I'll be right back. Let me have your email, Sue.
Okay, JS Places
Hey, Betsy, can you hear me?
Okay.
at att.net.
Okay, I will send you the link and just follow the directions and you should get in, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling in.
Sure. Bye.
Can
Bye.
you take this off? This Sue Fernandez in here, send me the number because we can't see Betsy.
I'll go off.
Hi, Betsy. How are you? Oh, there's no audio?
Betsy, there's no audio. Oh, she's gone now.
Wow, that's too bad. So what else have you two been discussing?
I don't know.
Anything
Lily, are you gonna come back on? Lillian? Oh,
Here's Betsy.
yeah.
Can you hear me?
I
Was
can't
that
hear
her?
you. Yeah, that's okay. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Hi.
Betsy. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
How's Josh doing?
He's doing good. He's bored being home and no sports to watch on TV. He can't go out.
Like that in front of them.
Well, it is. It's hard. It's hard for everybody. Your whole place has changed.
yeah.
You have so many things to do, and then all of a sudden you're housebound.
I'm actually enjoying my rest because I was so completely depleted with caring for Matt
Right.
and with grieving that I'm really grateful for this time. Plus, I have a mountain of work to do, but I haven't felt like doing it yet. But things in New Jersey are getting really bad.
In what way, Betsy?
It's more and more cases are being found out, positive. There was one nursing home in my community that closed down. They had to ship the clients up to another nursing home.
Why was that?
And when? It was last week.
No, why? Why did they have to close it?
They had the coronavirus.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they had that. I get really disgusted when I see gloves on the ground and I see, people not doing their social distance in the store. I just want to say, get away from me.
Right.
You can't find products. I don't like going out, and yet I have to go to more than one store because we can't find the products or food. Sometimes I can't even find food. And God bless Josh, he's a good eater.
Right. I was at the Stop and Shop, not the Stop and Shop, the BJ's. They had no eggs. And they usually have tons of eggs. I don't know what happened to the chickens for BJ's. Went to the Stop and Shop, there was eggs. But it's amazing.
Yeah. I was excited when I found ragu cheese sauce.
Oh, see that? We all like different things, and it is. I don't think we've ever been subjected to empty shelves. And I was at the Stop and Shop, and I overheard two workers saying, one was in a freezer and the other one was in the deli case, and he was saying, the other day we got a pallet and a half of toilet paper. It sold within a day. And I still don't understand why the toilet paper.
Well, they're going to put it on the trees outside somebody's house. Come on, they're probably doing a big job for he should not may be named in the White House. And that's a lot of land to put all that toilet paper in the trees and bushes. Come on.
Well, I don't know if you saw her on Facebook. It was, it said, this is year 2048, and I'm on my last roll of 2020 toilet paper. That's a lot of rolls of toilet paper.
Well, people are stashing up. I know over here in the senior independent home, they're asking for people to donate 1 or 2 rolls of toilet paper should they have extra, because there's some people without it, and they've gotten real creative. I just tell people that the Greeks and the Romans used sponges and just, find a stick and use the sponge and then clean it out with chloride, and there it is. You can use it again.
Yep.
But nobody takes me seriously. I mean, I do know my history, folks.
Well, that's good, Lillian. But
that's something you can count on. Always have some kind of ready solution for you all.
Well, that's good. That's good.
And it's a good to get your garden ready, too.
Guess what?
Get your garden ready.
Oh, what? What gets your garden ready?
You go out and, dig in the dirt.
Yeah.
Or have your grandkid do it. They always like to play in the dirt.
Oh, they do. They love it.
Turn over your earth and then go behind them and drop the seeds and have them pat down, and let's have the fun. Then hose them outside and throw on some liquid dishwasher, whatever it takes.
Yeah, set them up. That's all you have to do. Okay. Betsy, what else is going on in New Jersey? Are there that many sterile gloves on the streets and sidewalks?
I was in the back parking lot of a little strip mall, and there was gloves all over it. We get a call, my township. I live in Woodbridge Township in New Jersey, consists of several towns. I live in Island. We get a call from the mayor every day. People are so stupid, I can't believe it. They're throwing So then, you know, you're going to have sewer problems. Well, I mean, why does the mayor have to come on and say, dispose of these correctly? Come on. It's like, come on, people. You're going to ruin the environment. I'm not that I'm a tree hugger by any means, but come on, use common sense. But you know how blunt I am.
Me too. And folks, if you have a lot of plastic bags, put those with your plastic gloves in your washing machine. Add a little Woolite or Tide, if you wish. Even a little bleach, if it makes you feel better. And wash them up. And then let them dry naturally. Because we all know if you put them in heat, they may melt. So
Exactly.
try to be a little aware of what you can do. But you can reuse those bags. In fact, I was given instructions of how to wash your bags or boxes to make sure the virus infection does not come into your house. And I will post it on PWTR website on the Help Wanted section that tells you exactly how to wash everything so that you'll be okay. This is something that you just can't take at face value. I have a time of how long it takes for the C-Virus to be on plastic metal. And in fact, they did a show about it yesterday on the news. You may want to call up NBC and ask them to rerun it. They give you instructions about leaving a lot of your boxes and your packages outside. If you live in a house or an apartment with a porch, leave them outside for 24 hours. And if you feel afraid, just leave it out in the main hallway. You're going to attack all the maintenance men that goes through, but hey, somebody has to pay the price. But anyway, moving right along, we will put the instructions out over there so you can read and know how to protect yourself from all those plastic bags. In the end, they tell you to throw it away. But if you put them in the washing machine and sterilize them that way, you can reuse them again. I have a friend who does that. And even though I think she's, well, crazy, I do not tell her that. But apparently it does help. So if you feel like I do that you don't want to have plastic bags floating on that stream that's running behind your house, or when you finally get to the beach, you will find it because it's made its maiden voyage from someplace else. I suggest you put it into your washing machine, cycle cold, take it out, hang it out, and let it dry, and you can reuse it.
Good idea.
Thank you.
That was good, but we were using paper bags. And then all of a sudden, they banned the plastic, then they got paper, and now they're back to plastic.
And they're telling you not to use those linen bags for your groceries because they retain the virus the longest of time. So if you're trying to be earth friendly, sorry folks, get rid of the linen bags for right now, or the burlap bags, or whatever kind of bag you're using, because if it isn't plastic, you can't use it because it remains on the surface too long. And with the cardboard boxes, you should be handling it again with gloves on your hands. If you don't have gloves, like the person said on TV last night on NBC News, leave it outside for 24 hours. These are things that you really need to know, because if you have anybody below the age of 5 years old, you don't want to bring the risk of the infection in, because kids 5 years old and younger, they're dying too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I didn't realize that there was a lot of children that have died from this virus. Do you have any amount of how many have died? Anybody?
I know in Pennsylvania that had 3 kids die.
Wow.
One, a newborn baby within a week of their birth, another one about a year, and then a child herself.
Wow. That's
nasty.
It sure is.
Lillian, can I say something on behalf of my mom?
Please do.
My mom, Harriet Wurzel, my mom is 90. God bless her.
Wow.
And she was telling me during World War II, and you know who could do this?
Yes. He who should not be named, but his last name starts with an R, yes.
Yes. Um, that in World War II, that they stopped production of things to make tanks and airplanes. And you know who can make factories, make masks, make ventilators, and make all this equipment just like they did in World War II. So my mom she told me that. So I said, you know what? I'm going to have to say that on the show if I get on the show.
You need to say it on the show. It's important. And from the people who, I have a lot of people here at this retirement home who made it through World War II, and they're in their late 90s or early 90s. And some of them ate tulips to stay alive. And so I suspect this virus, while it's daunting, is not scary to them because they've already been through the worst. They went through a world war, which is pretty scary. And my mom used to tell me that the Nazis had sent submarines in the New York City harbor, and they were just waiting for them to be invaded by the submarines as a girl. And she said she was just frightened no end. But, and apparently they never did come ashore, but the fact that they were there was quite frightening to them. So for those people who are feeling overwhelmed, just remember this. If you have a window, go look out the window, take a look at the bushes and the trees. They're all coming into bloom. Take a look at the flowers. In fact, some of the insects are coming back. And then swing around, take a look at your family or your spouse, and then count your blessings.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, the
Because
facilitator is out.
there's going to be a lot of calamities in this new world. And if you let them paralyze you every single time, you will not be able to make it. So you have to make up your mind that no matter how bad things get, and trust me, I've had a couple of bad things happen to me in my lifetime. I'm not going to mention them on the air, but those who know me know. I've been through some bad things. And you just have to make up your mind that no matter how bad it is or how bad it will get, tomorrow is another day. And each day that you're alive is one day more for you. And if you have to say hip, hip, hooray, then say it. There's a reason why he who should not be named is always congratulating himself for doing a good job, well done. And it's one way to keep your sanity, but it's also another way to let yourself know that you have confidence in yourself, and no matter what happens, you're going to be okay.
That's right.
Totally agree.
And you just have to do that. And you should start practicing and have your children start practicing it too, because the world is going to be throwing a lot of curves at them. It's not the world that you and I were born into, and it's not the world that we left behind in the 20th century. Things have just changed, and you have to have your kids realize that they need to change with them. And they need to be flexible within this change so that they can do what they're going to be called upon to do. They may not like it, they may not agree with it, but it might save their standard of living or make it possible for them to do something that they couldn't do before. So no matter how bad things get, you always have a blessing to count upon.
That's right.
And you really need to remember that it has nothing to do with Christianity or Judaism or being Buddhist or Muslim or anything else like that. It's a common sense thing. Count your blessings.
Well, I think Americans need a lot more common sense, some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of them are not practicing it for sure. It's like a me, me, me society, and they haven't realized what their recklessness is also infecting other people.
Before we end this program, can I just say something about all the teachers?
Oh,
Please
sure.
do.
This is
Oh, yes.
something that these teachers, they're used to going to school. They're used to having their classroom, the regular patients that they see for every year. And now they're calling the homes of these students. My daughter has 4 kids that are all in different schools, all different rules. And the kids don't understand it, but I gotta hand it to the teachers. They are doing a marvelous job sending out all sorts of work for them. And I haven't heard too much about, anybody praising them. And I
No,
don't have a teacher as a daughter or a granddaughter or a great granddaughter or anything like that. But I have my grandchildren that have all of these teachers calling the house, making out homework lessons. The mother and father have to sit there and work with them. And the teachers, I mean, this is all brand new to them too.
Yes, agree.
You know, and are they going to graduate? And, you know, this is a good time. And I have one that would be graduating from high school, and, you know, he's concerned that he might not be able to go to a prom. And I mean, these are important things for these kids nowadays.
These are like they're like rites of passage.
Right, absolutely. And it's just to say, thank you for letting me say that about, I know this was all about the virus and the nurses and the you know who and you know all that, but
he who should not be named. Let's get that one right.
should not be named. But it's
Are you talking about someone I know that begins with the letter T?
Trumpet, yes.
but thank you.
Oh, you're very much welcome. And ladies and gentlemen and children of all ages, Jeannie White has a Facebook page along with PassionatWorldTalkRadio.com. And on that Facebook page that Jeannie White has put up, and / after.com, help-wanted section for kids through K through college and college and above, different topics, different sections, free video games, educational ideas, places where parents and teachers can get things. College students worried about money? Well, there's some scholarships being offered and grants and a contest being done by one of the large car companies, Kia. I suggest you go over to that webpage or to Jeannie White's Facebook page and read what it has to say. I think you would really love it. Or as my son says, do you have a link for some video games? The twins are driving me crazy. So to avoid being driven crazy or out of your mind, depending which one is worse, I suggest strongly you check out Jeannie White's Facebook page, looking for the help section on her page, or go over to https:// PassionatWorldTalkRadio.com / help HELP -wanted WANTED -section SECTION, and it's a smorgasbord. And if you don't know what a smorgasbord is, I'll tell you, just don't ask me to smell it. It's a place where you get all kinds of goodies, everything from desserts, salads, bread, pastry. Let's see, that's the same thing. Sorry, eggs, whatever. And that's what you find on these two pages, a smorgasbord of information that otherwise you would not have access to. Does anybody want to add something before we wrap it up?
No, I do. Thank you.
Okay, Bessie, take it away.
Well, thank you for letting me come on. Excuse my appearance. The social isolation, Lillian, is caregivers have faced this for a very long time. So I hope people will be more kind to caregivers and realize what it is like not to be able to go out and see your loved ones.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
adults, ladies and gentlemen and children and adults of all ages, to see this video over again, and who wouldn't want to? Hey, you can see it on YouTube, you can see it on Twitter, you can see it on Facebook permanently, I understand. You can also hear the audio part on iHearts, iTunes, on Spotify, Spreaker, on ALEXA, something else that can't be named, and of course on the website. And before you go away, Lucien had this to say in 115-180, that's AD, folks. The Greek, no, I guess not, it's before Christ. The Greek anthology, translated by Edwin Morgan, for mortals, mortal things, and all things leave us, or if they do not, then we leave them. Something to think about. Thank you all very much, Sheila, Jeannie, and Betsy, and Sue, for joining me tonight. And don't forget, Saturday, April 4th, I turn officially 69, and we're having a virtual birthday party, so I expect all you folks to show up. except for he who should not be named. I'm not going to invite him. Of course, if he shows up, that's fine too. Who am I to say things like that? Anyway, thank you all very much. Good. Thank you for a very good evening, and I hope you enjoyed the show. See you next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.